Welcome back to Boo You Gore. I'm Anita.
I'm Jade.
I say lately we're just going to dive straight into it. I don't have a segue into today's one, but you'll be proud of me. It's Australian.
Ooh, nice.
Not very local, not South
Yeah.
Australia, but it's from New South Wales.
Nice.
I don't know if you've heard of Anita Cobby.
Yes.
She was a 26-year-old Australian woman from Blacktown, New South Wales, who was kidnapped while walking home from Blacktown Railway Station just before 10 p.m. on February 1986 and subsequently sexually assaulted and murdered. 2 days after being reported as missing by family, Cobby's body was discovered by a man in a paddock of his farm in Prospect, New South Wales. Investigations led to the arrest of 5 men who were later convicted of her abduction, rape, and murder on 10th June 1987. Each was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on 16th June 1987. I'm glad they got life imprisonment, and I think I just wanted to start it off with just pretty much telling you that that's where they ended up, because what they do to her is so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. You don't realise all these things happen in Australia.
Yeah. This is like one of the pretty much, if you watch any Australian true crime series, they always cover this case.
Yeah.
Because this is just insane.
Yeah.
What I love, not that I love anything about these cases, but in this instance, no one remembers the names of the guys who did it, but everyone remembers Anita Cobby.
Yes.
Like one, there's
the case is known as like, with her name as opposed to how we say Brian Kohberger on Idaho 4. Or,
with the Brian Kohberger case, I know Brian Kohberger's name, and I've really got to think of the victims.
Who's who, yes.
Whereas with this case, it's her.
Yes.
She's the one we talk about and think about, and I wouldn't even be able to tell you any of their names.
I think it's because she was not necessarily known, but she was essentially a beauty queen.
Yeah.
So she was quite known in her area, per se. So upon arriving to the location of her body, it was clear to authorities that Cobby had sustained a prolonged and vicious attack with multiple sharp puncture wounds and cuts, as well as lacerations from being rolled in and dragged through barbed wire. She had obvious signs of being beaten, kicked, and struck, mainly from the bruising, cuts, and abrasions covering a large percentage of her body. Cobby's cause of death was ultimately a result of a slit throat, an act which the medical examiner noted nearly decapitated her.
Jesus Christ.
The forensic pathologist who performed her autopsy additionally noted that Cobby was likely still conscious at the time of her throat being cut, and estimated it would have taken between 2 to 3 minutes for her to bleed to death.
That's one of my biggest fears, is dying having my throat cut.
Dying slowly.
Like, it's almost an irrational fear that someone will cut my throat, because you're not
you essentially,
like 99.9% of the time you're not surviving that, and you've just got to lay there and wait to die.
You essentially drown. Yeah, that is a legitimate fear.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. The murder received widespread media coverage and public condemnation, including some who called for reinstating the death penalty.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. It should have been brought back in. So she was born Anita Lynch in Sydney on 2nd November 1959 to Gary Bernard Lynch, graphic artist within the Royal Australian Air Force, and Grace Peggy Lynch, a nurse. As a teenager, Anita participated in beauty pageants, including winning the Miss Western Suburbs pageant in November 1979, and had a promising career as a model. However, she decided instead to follow in her mother's footsteps into nursing. And if you see a photo of her, there's literally a photo of her with a crown on her head. It's stunning.
She's gorgeous. Yeah.
Anita met her future husband, John Cobby, while studying for her nursing degree at Sydney Hospital. They married on 27th March 1982. At the time of her murder in 1986, the couple had separated and Anita was living with her parents in Blacktown. According to John, he and Anita were on good terms, and when she was murdered, had been planning to reconcile. On the day of the murder, she finished work at Sydney Hospital at 3 p.m. and met friends for dinner in nearby Redfern, then caught a train from Central Railway Station to Blacktown Station. Arriving at Blacktown, she would usually ring her father, who would pick her up. On the day of her death, she most likely decided to walk home after finding the phone to be out of order and no taxis available at the taxi rank. Aside from her killers, only 2 witnesses saw Cobby after she left the train station. Cobby was walking alone from the station along Newton Road around 10 p.m. when the gang of 5 men drove up beside her and stopped their stolen white HT Holden Kingswood. 2 men leapt from the car and dragged her into the vehicle as she kicked and screamed. A teenage boy, his younger sister, and his mother heard someone screaming from the street in front of their house and had gone outside in time to see Cobby forced into the attacker's car. Imagine seeing that. The boy ran across the road to help, but the car drove off before he reached it. Imagine that as well. Just there's 5 dudes trying to pull this girl in, and you're a teenage boy, and you run to the trouble.
And that's it. Like, things like this too. I mean, they can't just keep piling charges on people, but that would affect that kid's life for the rest of his life. Because in cases like that, a lot of the time people go, "Fuck, I didn't get there in time. I didn't save her. I failed." They don't think, "I tried. At least I tried." He could have massive depression and PTSD and all this sadness from not being able to save her. No one gets held accountable for that.
Yeah. Returning home, he telephoned the police to report what he had seen. A few minutes later, their neighbour and his girlfriend arrived home, and after being told of the abduction, drove off to search for the car. How precious is that? That they've gone to, I guess, that extent. What would they think they would do if they found them? 5 potentially armed men.
That's it, but they just didn't think that far. They knew there was a problem and they needed to help.
They eventually drove down Rain Road, now known as Peter Brock Drive, and stopped by the now empty Holden, where the man used a spotlight to search the adjacent paddock. Seeing nothing in the paddock and believing the car he was looking for was a different model Holden, he returned home. The attackers later stated that they had hidden in the long grass to avoid the spotlight and waited for the man to leave.
Oh,
so he had the right car.
So close.
Yeah. And they were just right there hiding. Once inside the car on Newton Road, Cobby had been ordered to strip off her clothes but refused, begging her attackers to let her go and saying she was married and also menstruating. I think to put them off, I guess. Her attackers punched Cobby repeatedly, breaking her nose and both cheekbones, before forcing her to perform fellatio on all 5 men. The attackers then drove to a service station to purchase fuel using money stolen from Cobby's purse.
Wow.
Cobby was then driven down Rain Road to the secluded paddock while being held down in the car, raped repeatedly, and being continually beaten by her 5 attackers. They then dragged the brutally beaten Cobby into the paddock along a barbed wire fence, where they dumped her and continued to sexually and physically abuse her for some time. According to his taped confession, one of the attackers, John Travers, then became concerned that Cobby could identify them because she had seen their faces and heard their names, and convinced the other attackers to kill her. Urged on by the others, Travers slit her throat, almost severing her head.
Jesus.
So he was kind of one of the main, I guess, instigators.
Yeah.
When Cobby did not return home, her family initially thought she was staying overnight with a friend, but after learning that she failed to appear at work the next day, they reported her missing on 3rd February. On the morning of the 4th, her naked body was found in the paddock by a farmer investigating what his cows were milling around. Cobby's body was initially identified by her distinctive wedding ring, which was still on her finger when she was found. So it wasn't anything to do with robbing her or... Yeah. Her estranged husband, John, was initially suspected of her murder, but was quickly cleared. The Australian public reacted with anger upon hearing details of Cobby's murder, and I believe they would have given, to a degree, some description of what had happened to her.
Yeah.
So I think that would have fueled everyone's anger more.
Yeah.
Considering who she was as well in that town. On 6th February, the New South Wales state government posted a $1,000 reward, which is equivalent to about $149,000, information leading to the capture of Cobby's killers. Also on 6th of February, morning radio host John Laws obtained a leaked copy of Cobby's autopsy report, which contained explicit details of her injuries, and read it live on the air, both shocking and galvanising public sentiment. In a 2016 interview with 7 News, Laws said that he did it because he felt the general public ought to know, and that it incited anger in the public that murders like this were happening and we weren't being given the full details.
Which I completely agree with, but at the same time, that was so fresh for her family to then be read out.
Those details and have anyone sort of know that.
But as you know, I'm against suppression orders and stuff. We should be told everything. Or that it should at least be somewhere so you can choose to go and find the information if you want it, not just have it forced down your throat.
And that would have been like a station that many listened to.
And it was a different world back then too. You hear like simple little things that happened in the 50s that would cause women to faint because it was a different world and we just didn't deal with things as much. In the early 80s, still, that would have been insane having...
and then they weren't caught as yet, which is why I think he was releasing it, because he's like, well, people need to know that there's people like this out there still. On 9th of February, police reenacted Cobby's movements on the night of her disappearance in the hope of jogging the memories of travellers or others who might have seen her. Constable Debbie Wallace wore similar clothing to Cobby and travelled the 9:12 p.m. train to Blacktown. Detectives interviewed the passengers and showed them photos of Cobby while Wallace walked the length of the train during the journey. Following the tip-off from a police informant regarding the stolen Holden, police started searching for Travers, Michael Murdoch, and brothers Les, Michael, and Gary Murphy after they discovered that some of them had a history of violence and that Travers had a reputation for carrying a knife. On 21st of February, police arrested Travers and Murdoch at the home of Travers' uncle and Les Murphy at Travers' own house. Murdoch and Murphy were charged with offences relating to stolen cars and released on police bail. Travers, who admitted that he had stolen a car, had conflicting statements about the murder and was detained in police custody. While in custody, he requested that a friend be called so she could bring him cigarettes. The phone number was handed to the investigating police, who contacted the friend. The woman, Travers' girlfriend, eventually dubbed Miss X, agreed to help with the investigation, met with an officer and gave him details of Travers' background. Miss X was subsequently sent back in to talk to Travers, agreeing to hide a recording microphone device in her bra while she visited him in his cell and was able to obtain a confession.
Good girl.
Miss X later went to Murdoch's home while wearing the concealed recording device to capture his statements on tape as well. Eventually, 5 men were arrested and charged with the murder. Police were praised for their quick response in capturing all suspects involved. In total, 22 days had elapsed from the time of the murder to the time all suspects were taken into custody.
How good.
22 days.
That's really good. Yeah.
And good on Miss X. Like that, she did the right thing.
Absolutely. And if anyone knows Miss X or if she hears this by any weird fluke of nature, good on you.
Yeah.
Brilliant of the fucking year. Well done.
So the 5 men charged, who later all pleaded guilty or were convicted of the murder, had over 50 prior convictions for offences including armed robbery, assault, larceny, car theft, breaking and entering, drug use, escaping lawful custody, receiving stolen goods, and rape. So they all had a long rap sheet. John Travers, age 18 in 1986, was considered the ringleader of the gang. He was raised in relative poverty in Blacktown and was the eldest of 8 children from unmarried teenage parents. At age 14, he was already an alcoholic and was expelled from high school during year 10 for being continually disruptive to other students. Beyond schooling, Travers had few jobs and relied mostly on unemployment benefits as a source of income. He was eventually committed to Boys Town, a juvenile detention facility, by his mother. His father, with whom he never shared a close relationship, left the household in 1981. Finding it difficult to support the family, Travers relied on crime to provide food, such as stealing animals for the family's dinners, including chickens and ducks from nearby households. What the fuck?
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
Why have all the things that we talk about in this room, why is that the thing that breaks me? Don't go and steal a pack of sausages, steal a whole fucking chicken out of someone's yard. Jesus.
Don't worry, weird things make me laugh on this show.
Oh no.
The health of Travers' mother eventually deteriorated, and he and his siblings were sent to live with foster families while she was placed in a hospice. Travers had a history of violent sexual behaviour against males and females, as well as bestiality. During the times when he resorted to stealing poultry for his family's meals, he alleged to have... I don't think I read this properly, sorry.
I am so interested in where this is going.
Let me start that sentence again. During the times when he resorted to stealing poultry for his family's meals, he is alleged to have sexually abused the birds prior to butchering and cooking them. Well, witnesses have also recounted that on several occasions, first had acquired a live lamb or sheep for butchering prior to a barbecue party, alleging that he slit the animals' throats as he sodomized and abused them sexually before butchering and roasting the carcass on a spit.
Jesus Christ. Is that fucked at 18?
He was 18 when he got caught, so he was doing all this before he was 18.
That's
him in a nutshell.
Yeah, wow.
So you can see what kind of a person he was. So Michael James Murdoch, age 18 as well in 1986, was a childhood friend and criminal associate of Travers. He had also spent a great part of his childhood in juvenile prisons, where he experienced sexual assaults. He was known to have written to politicians during his period of imprisonment seeking protection from such assaults. You know what? You kind of deserve to be.
Yeah.
The Murphy brothers. So there was Michael, Gary, and Les Murphy, three brothers from an Irish-Australian family of 9 children, also accused of the crime. Michael Murphy, aged 33, was the eldest of the 9 Murphy children. He was sent to live with his grandmother when he was 12 years of age. Gary, Stephen Murphy, aged 28, a hearing impairment affected Gary's schooling and he left early to seek work. He was noted as being an able and willing worker before the crimes. Gary's strong interest in cars led to him facing several car theft-related charges in the years preceding the murder. And then there's Les. He was aged 22, was the youngest of the Murphy children, and was known as having the worst temperament. He had faced children's court on many occasions for a number of theft-related offences before being accused of the Cobby murder. So can you just imagine all these kids running around now that are getting done and getting a slap on the wrist right now for breaking into people's houses, breaking into our cars? This is what they're going to turn out like.
Yeah.
You need to punish them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The trial began in Sydney on 16th March 1987. Before proceedings began, Traverse changed his plea to guilty. Sydney newspaper The Sun published a front-page story on the day the trial began, carrying the headline, "Anita Murder Man Guilty," alongside a large image of Traverse. The news story also referred to Michael Murphy as an unemployed prison escapee of no fixed address, and another in the same paper detailed Murphy's criminal convictions and his recent escape from Silverwater Correctional Centre, where he was serving a 25-year sentence for a string of burglaries and thefts.
Jesus.
So they're obviously not changing and they're not learning from their consequences.
So wait, was he actually on the run at the time of committing?
That's what it's, that's what I take from that. The jury was discharged due to the potentially prejudicial information published about Murphy. According to the medical examiner's report, Cobby's body showed extensive bruising on her head, breasts, face, shoulders, groin, thighs, and legs consistent with a systematic beating, including a blow of considerable force around the right eye. She also had lacerations on her hips, thighs, and legs from the barbed wire, several cuts to her neck resulting in the severing of her ear and windpipe and near decapitation, and many cuts to her hands and fingers, resulting in the near severing of 3 of her fingers, which likely occurred when she raised her hands to her face, trying to protect herself from the knife.
Wow.
So she fought back quite hard. The medical examiner later testified that after Cobby's throat was cut, she would have died within 2 minutes. He also testified that some radio bulletins purportedly based on his own report contained misinformation about the type and extent of Cobby's injuries. She was not mutilated apart from the slashing of her throat and hands. There had been no attack with a knife on her stomach or genitals, and her shoulders had not been dislocated. Jesus. Either way, it's still messed up. The trial for the remaining members of the gang lasted 54 days, with the men's defense relying on convincing the jury of their minimal involvement in the beating and murder. On 10th June 1987, all 5 were found guilty of sexual assault and murder. On 16th of June, they were each sentenced in the Supreme Court of New South Wales to life imprisonment, plus additional time without the possibility of parole.
Good.
Justice Alan Maxwell described the crime as one of the most horrifying physical and sexual assaults. This was a calculated killing done in cold blood. That executives should grant the same degree of mercy they bestowed on their victim.
Absolutely.
True, yeah. Cobby's parents would join forces with Christine and Peter Simpson, the parents of murder victim Ebony Simpson, to create the Homicide Victims Support Group, a community support group that helps families deal with heinous crimes. The Lynches also campaigned in seeking tougher sentencing and truth in sentencing laws, which eventuated after Cobby's murder. Cobby's father, Gary Lynch, died on 14th September 2008, aged 90, suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Her mother, Grace, died of lung cancer in 2013 at the age of 88.
Wow.
The Lynches had been married for 54 years at the time of Gary's death. As of 2025, John Traverse was housed in Wellington Correctional Centre in maximum security. In 1996, he and another inmate were being transported from Goulburn to Long Bay when they attempted to escape from the prison van by hacksawing through and kicking in the back door. When the attempt was noticed, the van pulled over at Bulrul Police Station and the 2 were arrested and charged. So imagine just popping up the door being like, freedom!
Yeah.
And you're at a police station. Since being sentenced, Traverse has spent time in Long Bay, Parkley, Maitland, Goulburn, Grafton, Lithgow, and Wellington correctional centres. So he's just been constantly moved. Michael Murphy was housed in Long Bay Hospital in maximum security. During his imprisonment, Murphy had been held in Long Bay, Maitland, Lithgow, then spent majority of that time in Goulburn until being diagnosed with liver cancer. He died in Long Bay Hospital on 21st February 2019 at the age of 66. I hope he suffered.
Yeah, same.
As of 2025, Gary Murphy was housed in Goulburn Correctional Centre in maximum security. On the morning of 25th June 2019, he was severely beaten by several other prisoners in Shell Block of 10 Wing at the Metropolitan Special Program Centre at Long Bay and was transferred to hospital in a critical condition.
Oh, poor Baba.
Yeah, oh no. I laughed about it last time. I was like, criminals there's like a line and they have some sort of moral compass or like, I don't know, they all hate the same thing in prison.
Yeah.
Anything to do with child molesting or anything or little girls, I feel like they just kick the shit out of you. Good. They will find a way. Yep. They will get to you. And I love that. On 23rd August 2020, it was revealed by the Daily Telegraph that Murphy had been moved back from Long Bay to Goulburn after being bashed. Since being sentenced, Murphy has spent time at Long Bay, Maitland, Lithgow, Junee, and Goulburn correctional centres. As of 2025, Les Murphy was housed in Goulburn Correctional Centre in maximum security. Since being sentenced, Murphy has spent time in Long Bay, Parkley, Lithgow, Grafton, Maitland, and Goulburn Correctional Centres. Why are they all being moved around so much?
Jesus. I suppose they've been in there for 44 years.
True. And then they're constantly changing things and rules and whatever. But they're all going to like the same places as well. So I wonder if they interacted in there, were they in the
or
same
if
sort
they've
of like block?
Because I know they try to not put people that committed the same crime together. So maybe they've had to like, if they've got to move one, if one's being bashed and he's got to be moved to a different prison, does that mean they've then got to move this one because he's in that prison and they might just have to sort of rotate them all so they're not in together?
I guess that makes sense because it was sort of like the same 4 or 5 places they all circled around. As of 2025, Michael Murdoch was housed in Goulburn Correctional Centre in maximum security as well. Since being sentenced, Murdoch has spent time in Long Bay, Parkley, Windsor, Maitland, Bathurst, Lithgow, Junee, and Goulburn Correctional Centres. So they sort of mainly were at Goulburn and then rotated. After the death of Michael Murphy, as of 22nd February 2019, New South Wales Corrective Services confirmed the 4 other offenders were still alive and were still serving their life sentences in various maximum security correctional centres across New South Wales, but it could not be revealed where they were currently being housed. The murder has been covered by several true crime television series, including Crime Investigation Australia in 2006, Crime Stories in 2008, and Australian Families of Crime in 2010. The case was covered by Case File True Crime podcast on 22nd July 2019. It has also been the subject of several books. Now we can add to the list. It's an episode of Big Google.
It's the most important one.
I'm sure there's many podcasts that have done it.
Because I'm pretty sure they also did do you remember that show from years ago, Psychic Investigators? Where they would like take people around. There was an Australian one and they'd see what the psychics picked up. I reckon they did this case as well.
In that paddock probably. The Australian social realist film The Boys came out in 1998, was directed by Rowan Woods, is in part inspired by the Cobby murder and follows the journey of 3 brothers leading up to a similar crime.
Yeah.
So I feel like that'd be an interesting one to watch.
So it's another shit thing too, like their family. Was it the Murphys? There was 3 of them. They've just lost 3 members of their family, gone to prison for the rest of their life because for some reason, a 30-year-old decided to follow the idea of a head-fucked 18-year-old and drag his 2 brothers into it as well.
Yeah. I mean, they all contributed the same way. In February 2016, at the time of the 30th anniversary of the murder, police released the taped confessions of Travers and Murdoch that were obtained by Miss X. Imagine that, hearing their actual confessions.
Yeah.
7 News broadcast a documentary, 7 News Investigates Anita Cobby, You Thought You Knew It All, which included the newly released taped confessions and John Cobby's first televised interview about his wife's murder. A 90-minute documentary titled Anita was released in 2016 on the 30th anniversary of the murder. And there's also a park in Sullivan Street, Blacktown, was named Anita Cobby Reserve in memory of Cobby, which I thought was quite nice. That town really treasured her, I think.
Yeah.
But that's essentially all I have on that one. I don't want to go into too much detail. I mean, you can paint a visual in your head with just what I've given you anyway.
Yeah.
Being dragged through barbed wire.
Yeah.
And just sexually assaulted by 5 men.
Yeah.
And beaten throughout the whole ordeal. So imagine finding that as well.
Yeah. Like, oh, I wonder what's going on out here. Oh, here's this fucking brutalized woman. And that's another person. He's got to live with what he found. These murders don't just wreck the life of the murdered person and their family. There's all those other people that tried to stop it, people that found it. Like, it just
even
so
people
much
in the
damage.
town, just to know that something that insane can happen literally on your doorstep.
And like, luckily they caught them so quickly, because you think any young or any girl around that sort of age would have been terrified walking to and from work.
I know nowadays we say so much, don't get in cars with strangers, don't sort of walk home on your own, or don't be sort of aware of your surroundings. I know, like, if 5 men pulled up in a car, you've sort of got no hope.
That's it. But, you know, especially if it's at night and they just pick you up and throw you in the back of the car. It's just like what
the world's coming to now is just, it's so hard to just be like, you know, what are you supposed to say? Carry pepper spray. Yeah. Walk around with a gun in your pants.
Well, you see now why so many people do, like, I mean, not here, obviously, but in America, you can see why they all carry. Then you carry a gun, your risk of being shot is higher.
If you're, like, struggling and fighting for the gun. And
that's it. Or, you know, if the person you're having an argument with, if you go, piss off, idiot, I've got my gun, they're like, well, cool, I've got mine. And then it just becomes a gunfight when it could have just been an argument.
Yeah.
Like, the world, especially the last 12 months, it's just gone batshit crazy.
We're also not calm, but we'd always look at Americans and be like, oh, with your gun laws and whatever, look how great we are.
How many times have we said it, even just in the podcast alone? And now I've gone from you shouldn't be carrying guns, right? Now I'm like, we need to be allowed to carry guns.
Yeah, because, like, it's crazy how much your perspective can change, I guess, from actually going through, or just, I don't even like.
Well, and here, like, it's happened in our area, I reckon probably the last 8 months. Like, it's just gone insane.
Because there's no consequences, like I was saying. Because they're all under 18.
Yep.
They're all just getting a slap on the wrist if they're even bothering to try and catch them. And then nothing gets done. They get away with it. That's why they literally do shit in broad daylight.
So have dogs, don't get stabbed.
Yeah. Get a dog, carry some pepper spray.
See, pepper spray should be legal. They should be registered to each person. And if you use it, you've got 24 hours to go to the police station and report why you used it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like, you know what? It's probably going to come in soon. But that's how crazy shit is happening in Australia.
Because pepper spray doesn't kill people, but it diffuses the situation.
And you could get away.
It's not going to hurt anyone. You know what? If someone ends up with burns to their face, too bad. Don't be a piece of shit. You're going to come at me with a machete and I can spray you in the face with pepper spray, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Maybe if people knew that there was repercussions to their actions, they'd stop doing what they do.
Exactly.
And you know what? If you spray someone and they have a reaction because they're allergic to paprika and they get anaphylactic reaction and their throat closes up, too bad. Don't be a piece of shit.
That is the consequences of your actions.
Exactly.
Coming back to bite you in the ass. Wow. So yeah, don't carry pepper spray.
Don't stab people.
Don't stab people. Just don't be a piece of shit.
It's just a fucking basic rule for life. Don't be a piece of shit. And it's literally that simple.
Yeah.
Just don't be a piece of shit and you'll be fine.
People don't have the same brain mentality and thought process as that, though, and don't realise they're being a piece of shit.
It amazes me the amount of people that go out there purposely intending to be a scumbag. Why is that your life goal? Your hobby? Fucking crochet.
Yeah.
Stab yarn, not neighbours.
That's a good one. Stab yarn, not neighbours. Oh, God. That's funny.
Crochet, not kill.
We'll think of something. Yeah, that was Boogie for this week. Thank you for listening.
And again, huge thank you to Anita for picking up all the slack while I am
going through it.
Yeah. I was gonna say the R word, but I might get in trouble if I say the R word, which is retarded for those of you out there who don't know.
Obviously.
Well, I have been having my breakdown, my shit. going on. Thank you for keeping the podcast afloat.
It's all good. It's what I'm here for, teamwork. But it's good to see you in sort of better spirits.
I'm smiling and laughing today.
Yes.
I love that you say teamwork and I'm just over here like phoning it in. But my goal is that next episode is a Jade episode.
Oh, I thought I'd do an Australian one. I'm getting a bit closer to home, trying to fill in the shoes.
Got so many lately. I've been seeing just real interesting cases and I've just been screenshotting things so I'll remember. I've got so many things that I want to do now, but I really want to try and want to go and do the one that I've said I wanted to do for like the last 3 months because it should have been done first week of January. My life decided to shit the bed. So
yeah.
Well,
thank you for listening. Give us a like on Insta.
Yeah. We also, I can't remember if it was in the episode or not, when we were speaking last time about, so you know how podcasts have nicknames for the people that listen? You know, Morbid's got the weirdos and
like
Case
what
File
their
has the
listers are called.
Caseys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we worked out the other day that if we were to do that, you guys would be boobies.
Boobies.
So we can say bye boobies at the end of the episode.
Why does that's just so you and so
bye boobies.
Bye.